Hey guys, so today I'm bringing you an Ice Strykewyrm Slayer guide. This is obviously just part of my regular Slayer series. I know I did a Skeletal Wyvern task or guide yesterday, but that wasn't specifically for Slayer. So I've decided I'm really trying to push hard and try to improve the quality of my Slayer guides so that they can aim for bigger range of levels, and give you a lot more information. So Ice Strykewyrms are a high level Slayer monster, as I'm going to show you now with the information on the Ice Strykewyrm. Now it's got a combat level of 210, but it does require a Slayer of level 93, which is a very high requirement. I know a lot of people don't have this requirement, but if you're going for 99 Slayer, this will be a task you'll have to do many times from 93, so it's very important that you know how to do this task. It's got a life points of 3,000, which is a huge amount, but don't worry about this because you'll be absolutely smashing through them. If you use a fire spell on them, it will do double damage, so therefore you're going to be hitting up to 1k plus, which means you could even free hit it. And you also got a cannon if you're going to be using a cannon to help you. And you must use a fire cape. That is one thing to mention. If you haven't got a fire cape, you will not be given this task as a requirement. You'll not be given this task ever because you haven't got all the requirements. And also you must do the quest. I think it's the Tail of the Muspa to enter this cave to kill the Ice Strykewyrms. Killing an Ice Strykewyrm is also a task in the Fremenic Diaries. I think it's the elite because it's such a high Slayer requirement. It attacks with the styles melee and magic. However, it will not come towards you, and it'll only use magic when you're at distance, which is why it's so perfect to mage, because you can pre-mage and negate all damage. However, its magic spell can freeze you even through prayers, so you could be stood still for a couple of seconds, but it's not going to make a difference because it still can't damage you, and you just want to click to attack again. Its melee is quite strong if you stand next to it, so you want to be wary of that. If you actually do want to melee Ice Strykewyrms, you'll have to be careful because you will have to use a healing familiar because you'll pre-melee and take the mage damage. But I only recommend doing this if you're going to mage. It is such a slow task if you rapier this. You don't get the double damage, it is not worth it. Honestly, the amount of people you see meleeing them, they need to stop maging. It is so much quicker, and I don't know why they wouldn't. Even if you use a slower fire spell, it's better. So the familiars you can use for this, I've put a Pakiak here and the information on a Pakiak. However, you can use any beast of burden such as a War Tortoise also. Obviously a War Tortoise most players can use and should be able to use by 93 Slayer anyway. But there's not much to say about the War Tortoise, but you will need a spare. But the Pakiak is level 96. Its Scroll Winter Storage may come in use because you get quite a lot of noted items here, but you also get a few tooth halves and loop halves and singular item drops that you might want to bank to save space, because you do get a shit ton of drops here that are worth picking up and will eat up your inventory space very, very quickly. With a Pakiak, you might want to take a spare in case you've got any items in it, but the other advantage of a Pakiak is that you will have prayer pots inside it, and since it's a long task, you might run out of prayer pots. Obviously, the disadvantage is you've got no mage boost, and so if you do take a Pakiak, I recommend simply using a Vecna Skull in your inventory or an extreme magic potion, but I'd prefer a Vecna Skull. The next familiar is the one I'd prefer, is the Wolpertinger. This requires a summoning level of 92, which is again pretty high, and the scroll is called the Magic Focus Scroll. What this scroll does is boost your magic to 106 if you're 99, or 107. I think it's 106, but it is basically the biggest boost you can get. I think it's one higher than an extreme, or it might be the same, but it is definitely worth using because you can use it infinitely. It takes one item slot in your inventory because it's just a pack of scrolls, and you might want to take a spare if you've got a longer task. If you haven't got 92 summoning, obviously you can't access a Pakiak either. I'd recommend just taking the War Tortoise, which can act as a beast of burden, and you will definitely want to bring a spare War Tortoise because I think they're only about 45 minutes. And then you should definitely have enough prayer pots because they can hold 18 items. So let's get into the gear setups, etc. Now, for your gear setup, first of all, as I've already mentioned, you want your Wolpertinger if you've got a Wolpertinger. Now, if you haven't got a Wolpertinger, what you want to use for your mage boost is a Vecna Skull, which you can buy on the GE. It's spelled V-E-C-N-A, and then you'll find it. It's a rare drop from the Ring of Wealth table if you don't know that. And that's what you want to use if you haven't got a Wolpertinger. As for gear, you pretty much want Arams or Ganodermic. Both of them pretty much have identical stats, and they both degrade, so either one's good. Although Arams may be a bit cheaper to use, but then again Ganodermic ever so slightly better. You want your full Slayer helm. If you haven't got a full Slayer helm, you just want a Hex Crest. Arcane Stream if you've got it from Dungeoneering, which is a great reward because it gives 15% bonus to your mage damage. You need a fire cape to even damage Ice Strykewyrms. So if you haven't got a if you haven't got a fire kit, but Tuck Hawk Cal also works, which is even better anyway. And then you've also obviously got the completionist kit, which works, and a max hip does not work. As for your offhand, you want a surge box with surges in. If you don't want to use surges, you can also charge it with waves. But if you haven't got the surge box from Dungeoneering, I recommend an Arcane Spirit Shield or a Farseer Kite Shield or a Mage's Book, which give all give positive mage bonus and are worth using if you're not using a surge box. The reason the surge box is so good, it does a bit of extra damage, and also while it still has a positive mage bonus. As for your boots, you want Ragefire boots, which are the best boots for magic bonus. If you haven't got these, Infinity boots are the next best and are relatively cheap. For your gloves, you want Spellcaster gloves. If you don't want to use degrading gloves, then Barrow's gloves are perfectly fine. For your ring, Seer's ring or Onyx ring eye is good. And for your staff, you want your best staff you've got. Obviously, chaotic staff is by far the best because it has the 20% magic bonus damage. If you haven't got a chaotic staff, the best staff to use is pretty much Staff of Light. As for your inventory, you want your regular items across the top. Obviously, I'll never be close packing, but I keep them in my inventory for quick changes to the next task. Sorry, I had to pause it there while my phone went off. So, obviously, I don't use Dragon Claws. I just keep them in my inventory for quickness when I start the next task. Then Ring of Slaying, Ferocious Ring, just for quick days to Kuradel for having enough rings, and also ready to equip as soon as I get a task into Kuradal's dungeon. Ring of Slaying, so I know how many I've got left. And then Magic Focus Scrolls, because they're the scrolls I'll be using for the familiar. Obviously, you want the scrolls corresponding to the familiar you're using, if you're going to use the scrolls, that is. You don't have to use a cannon. However, I recommend you use a cannon, because it will ever so slightly speed it up. It's not too drastic, but it will help and do some damage. You want a couple of prayer renewals. Now, the reason I'm using flasks is because Ice Strykewyrms is a very long task, and because of this, you're going to be there for, like, obviously quite a while, and if you're not using a Beast of Burden, like, if you're using a Wolpertinger instead of a Beast of Burden, you will not be able to take enough prayer pots if you take vials, so flasks are really needed. Obviously, you need your fire runes so that you're not just casting Wind Surge, and you need to be casting Fire Surge for the double damage. At the bottom, you want your cannonballs. Whether you're gonna cannon this task or not, you want your cannonballs there because you should always be there. This because it's telly straight to a bank and near a fairy ring. This for when you get blood velds, and the house teleport so it's straight to an altar and straight to a summoning obelisk. I leave 2 inventory spaces free because obviously it depends on how many you've got. If you've got like a big 200 task, you might want to put prayer pots there. But I keep 2 spaces so that you can pick up drops because they have lots of good drops. So I'm going to show you how to get there now. Since you'll be using protection prayers, the whole kill, every kill, and also a boost prayer if you're going to be boosting prayers, which is why you want to be on the regular spellbook so you can use the magic boost prayers, either Mystic Might or Augury. So I'm going to show you how to get the Ice Strykewyrms, and first you want to just run to this fairy ring here, or any fairy ring in game, it doesn't really matter, and tell you there. And then you want to use the fairy ring code, which is DKS. You just want to use the fairy ring, wait for it to stop lagging, and type DKS in. I remember this by like Dagon Kings. It's like how I can remember like the DKs. It's just, it all sticks in my head. I don't know how it's related to Ice Strykewyrms, I just remember it in my head. And you want to just run northwest into this little cave opening, which you'll have been in a quest before. What the hell was that modified ice structure? I do not have a clue, but you want to enter this cave and run east. Now, as you can see, this water is only there. However, if you've not done the quest and not set it up right, the water will be everywhere. However, if the water is everywhere, you want to look into the Tail of the Muspar guide. I think that's the right quest. And then you'll be able to sort it out so that the water is just there, because it'll give you all the information you need in a quest guide for that. So, as you enter, you'll see the Ice Strykewyrms are just mounds, as any of a Strykewyrm is. And they're all around just moving. They're quite spread out, which can be quite annoying. Now this guy's meleeing them, and I don't know why people melee them. It really bugs me. Honestly, do not do Strykewyrms if you're not gonna mage it. It's not worth it, because you do double damage with fire spells. So the best, if you're gonna be using a cannon, you want to put it about here, because this is the optimum spot. It doesn't vary too much where you put it, because they do roam around quite a lot. But this is the best place. So if you're using a Wolpertinger, you want to boost your mage, fire the cannon, and you want to attack ones that are close to the cannon-ish. You want to pray mage, and you want to put your boosting prayers on. Now, as you can see, I've just run next to a wall. It doesn't matter if it's a wall or just like a little pillar thing. This wall would do. That wall would do. Anywhere would do, you know? As long as you're in attacking range of the Ice Strykewyrm. The point is that Ice Strykewyrms have that special dig attack which I mentioned, and this can hit 300 on you. And it also wastes time because the time it takes for them to dig and get towards you, especially when you're at a distance, does waste a lot of time. As you can see, you're hitting massively with Mage. You don't want to be wasting time while it comes towards you. And as you see, I just hit 1052. The double damage is insane, and that makes this task slightly more enjoyable. That's why the 3000 HP isn't too much. Now, if I stand here and if it digs, you'll see what I mean, and it will waste time. I'm not sure if it's a glitch that stands there on the wall stops it, but it always works, and it hasn't been fixed. This is the other thing that can happen, which is another reason why you want to have auto retaliate on. And you should do pretty much on every Slayer task you want that on, because it'll always help if you're slightly AFK. That frozen ability can always happen even if you're on a wall, but I didn't get dug there, so I'm going to try and make it dig again. As you know, this happens with all Strykewyrms, and it hits the same, a 300 hit, no matter what Strykewyrm it is. It's not increased for the higher level ones like these, which are 210. So it's digging now, and if I let this hit me, it's going to hit 300. And there you go. This can do a lot of damage to you if you're not paying attention, and that's why you've got to make sure you're on the walls, because you haven't got any healing on you, so you want to make sure you're avoiding that. However, you can avoid it anyway by running to the side, but as you can see, it would have wasted time while I could be in it, while I could have been just standing on a wall attacking it. These have many good drops, including the blood runes, which are definitely worth picking up. There's many other drops like crushed nests, and obviously they drop the staff of light. Because of the combat level 210, they have a decent effigy drop rate, which is another reason for definitely doing this task. Obviously, you can't expect to see too many, but in the past I've heard of people getting like four effigies in a task. This was before the nerf, so it's not too unlikely to get an effigy from an Ice Strykewyrm. So I think this is all I have to say about killing them. Obviously, your gear can be downgraded. Other staffs instead of chaotic staff obviously can include just staff of light. Any staff that you want to use, you can even use a fire staff if you wish, which will save you a lot of money on fire runes. And in combination with your Celestial Surge box, you'll have no runes in your inventory, which will save some space for fire runes. Now these magic logs are worth picking up as well, because this task has a lot of decent drops that add up to a lot of value. You'll get a lot of drops in your inventory doing this task if you're picking them all up, and that will be a problem, which is why I left 2 spaces when I came to the task, as well as my cannon. Now, the other thing to mention is that your cannon will degrade after every 25 minutes, and you'll most likely have to pick it up once or twice during a long task of these. So that's another problem. You will, a lot of the time, not have 4 spaces. So when this occurs, you just want to drop a few prayer pots, pick up your cannon, drop it again, and then pick up your prayer pots again. This is obviously something you'll be used to from most tasks. So this task will take you some time. This is all you need to do. And if you do run out of prayer pots, it's simple enough to bank. It's only a fairy ring away to get back to here. That is by far the best way to get here, because all the other ways involve running quite a distance. And I can't find that drop under the cannon. Did it drop? I don't know. It might be in that one. Oh, I'm just confused. So if you've never done Ice Strykewyrms, I hope this has helped you. Just the main thing to remember, stand on a wall and you'll be perfectly fine. Pray mage and you can't get damaged whatsoever. Easy as pie. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video.